The first time Elena Reyes saw Daniel cross in the Lacandon jungle, she was ankle-deep in mud, deciphering the spiraled glyphs on a crumbling stela, and he was leaning against a giant ceiba tree, polishing a compass that once belonged, he claimed, to Cortez. They had met before in auction houses and university corridors, bidding against each other for manuscripts and obsidian knives, but the jungle magnified everything. The heat of competition, the stench of egos, the hum of mosquitoes. Daniel smiled that infuriating smile, half rogue, half professor, and said, "Looking for the mirror of Quetzalcoatl, Reyes? I would have thought you'd be further along by now." Elena snapped her notebook shut. "I prefer facts to folklore," she lied, even as her pulse pounded with the very legend he teased her about. The mirror, said to reflect a person's true soul, was the most coveted Aztec artifact never found. It was also her late father's life's work. 2 days later, their paths crossed again at dawn. Golden mist draped the canopy, and the calls of howler monkeys echoed like distant engines. Elena had set out alone, trusting her GPS and her father's faded map, but a sudden landslide blocked the track along the Rio Usumacinta. There, standing on the opposite bank, was Daniel, grinning while balancing on a felled mahogany trunk. "Need a bridge?" he called. She swallowed her pride. "I need to get to the Temple of the Feathered Serpent by nightfall." "We can get there together," he said, stressing the last word. She remembered the time he'd outbid her for a jade figurine, then mailed her a taunting postcard from Monaco. But she also remembered the funerary inscription he had anonymously donated to the National Museum, saving it from black market obscurity. Elena exhaled. "Fine, but keep your hands off my notes." Traveling together was a careful waltz of mistrust. Elena's navigation skills kept them on track, while Daniel's charm pried open doors, literal and figurative. At a remote Lacandon village, he spoke fluent Celtal to secure a canoe. She offered medical supplies to an elder with a festering snake bite. Each night by the campfire, they took turns guarding both equipment and egos. Yet stories seeped through the cracks. Daniel confessed he once lectured at Cambridge, but left after a scandal involving forged Provençal relics, none of which he forged, all of which he exposed, too publicly for certain donors' liking. Elena revealed that her father, an archaeologist, spent 20 years chasing the mirror before disappearing on his final expedition. She still wore his compass around her neck. When she finished, Daniel's usual levity faltered. "Sorry," he said quietly. "My father hunted oil across the Amazon. He never came home, either." The jungle's nocturnal chorus filled the silence between them like a third presence. Competition flared again at the temple's entrance. The building wasn't the grand Teotihuacan pyramid replicated on travel posters, but a vine-choked, low pyramid accessible only by crawling under a limestone shelf. Glyphs on the lintel warned of Xolotl, guide of the underworld. Elena shot Daniel a look. "Still feel like sharing?" He shrugged, but his gray eyes sparked. "Race you to the altar!" They squeezed through and descended a steep stairwell coated in bat guano. Elena flipped on her headlamp. Daniel had brought phosphorescent chalk to mark their route. The tunnel forked twice. At the third fork, Elena's palm-sized drone buzzed ahead and revealed a narrow chamber scintillating with mica dust. At its center lay a squat pedestal. She advanced, heart pounding, certain the mirror at last awaited inside. She reached for the lid when Daniel yanked her back. A stone dart whistled through the space her torso had occupied and shattered against the wall. Some stones, apparently, still guard their secrets. The artifact inside was not the mirror, but a small obsidian disc etched with concentric circles. Elena cursed in Spanish, turning it over. "A decoy," she muttered. Daniel examined the trap mechanism. Or a clue. He pointed to a carved feather pattern on the pedestal's base, matching symbols in her father's notebook. 3 plumed arrows and a stylized sun. The same glyph appeared on the decoy's backside. Elena's skepticism faltered. Why would the Aztecs leave a second artifact this deep in Maya territory? Maybe the mirror is so powerful they scattered false leads, Daniel suggested. Or maybe we're standing in the wrong century. Civilizations overlap. He offered her the disc. Their fingertips touched. A jolt much smaller than adrenaline shot through her. Outside, rain hammered the canopy, turning trails to chocolate rivers. While they debated direction underneath a rock ledge, 3 figures in green ponchos emerged. Mercenaries equipped with assault rifles, machetes, and company patches of the multinational extraction firm Terra Vantage. Elena recognized the logo from protests against illegal drilling on sacred lands. The lead mercenary lifted his visor. "Dr. Reyes, Mr. Cross. My employer. Thanks you for locating the plague mirror." Daniel muttered, "They have awful intelligence." The mercs confiscated packs and notes, then bound Daniel and Elena back to back. Before the mercenaries marched them out, the leader smiled. "We'll keep you alive until you dig up the real prize. Start walking." Hours slogged by in mud and intimidation. Elena and Daniel whispered strategies. He could free his wrists given a distraction. She remembered a sinkhole visible on her drone's survey map ahead. When the convoy reached the depression, a mossy pit 20 meters across, Elena stumbled accidentally, sending her elbow into the mercenary beside her. Daniel twisted his bindings over a jagged limestone spur, snapping the zip tie. Chaos erupted. Shouts, gunfire cracking like thunder, birds exploding from the trees. Daniel shoved Elena into the brush. Together, they bolted downslope, bullets nipping vines overhead, until they tumbled into the abyss of the sinkhole. They landed on a damp cavern shelf, only a meter wide but 20 meters above an underground river. Darkness enveloped them, punctured by distant gunfire, echo, and the blue glow of Elena's cracked headlamp. She checked Daniel. Sprained wrist, maybe worse, but breathing. He winced. "Looks like we fell off the map," she laughed, despite shivering. "Maps are overrated." Below, the river's current glimmered metallically. Elena recognized the mineral shimmer she'd seen on satellite images, an old lava tube leading, according to her father's notes, toward a hidden cenote called Ojo del Cielo. Her pulse thumped with renewed excitement tinged with fear. "I think I know where the mirror is," she whispered. Daniel grinned through pain. "Then let's steal it before Terra Vantage extracts it." Navigating the tube required cooperation beyond rivalry. Daniel's rope had been seized, but Elena's belt turned into an improvised harness. His collapsible hiking pole became a piton. They rappelled clumsily down, alternating instructions. "Left hand lower," and supportive curses. "Dios, don't drop me." Once in the river, they swam shoulder to shoulder, letting the current carry them. Cool water washed mud and war paint from their faces, leaving them raw, honest. "If we survive," Daniel said, treading water, "what are you going to do with the mirror?" She thought of auction houses, whispering millions, of academic fame, of her father's unmarked grave. "I want to place it in the museum my father dreamed of building in Oaxaca, for everyone, not collectors." Daniel nodded. "Then I'll help you." The simplicity disarmed her. "What about your share?" He flashed that rogue smile. "Maybe I've finally found a better investment." The river emptied into a vast cavern, lit by shafts of turquoise light, pouring through a hole in the ceiling. Ojo del Cielo. Stalactites dripped like frozen lightning. In the center rose a pyramid of basalt blocks half submerged, evidently constructed within the flooded chamber its top platform barely dry. Upon it, propped against a copper stand, glowed a circular mirror framed in alternating jade and obsidian feathers. Water reflected shimmering patterns onto the walls, making the mirror seem alive. Elena's breath caught, tears threatened. "Papa," she whispered. Daniel squeezed her hand. Together they climbed slippery steps to the summit. Up close, the mirror was larger than expected, almost a meter wide, its surface opaque, smoking with internal light. Symbols around the rim matched those in her father's notebook: wind serpents, stars, seated kings. Daniel brushed his fingers along the frame. Unblemished after 5 centuries. Imagine the craftsmanship. Elena reached out, but something held her back. Reverence or dread of what she might see inside. Legend said the mirror revealed true intent, even devouring greedy hearts. She glanced at Daniel. "Will you test it with me?" He chuckled nervously. "I've never been good at reflections, but why not?" They stood side by side, shoulders touching, and peered into the smoky glass. At first, Elena saw only swirling obsidian mist. Gradually, images formed. Her father smiling beneath the sun, handing her a magnifying lens when she was 7. Him coughing in a hospital bed. Him vanishing into vines on his final trek. But here, within the mirror, turning to face her, laying a hand over his heart, as if saying he was at peace. She pressed her palm to the glass, tears spilling. Next to her, Daniel stiffened. Over his shoulder, she glimpsed a younger Daniel confronting a boardroom of lawyers, slamming a folder of forged invoices, then walking away empty-handed, yet lighter, as if integrity had cost him everything but saved his soul. Daniel swallowed. "I thought I'd see gold, or my own face. Instead, I saw a choice." His voice cracked. Elena leaned against him, dizzy with understanding. The mirror showed not treasure, but value, the worth of what one protects. Their revelation ended when bootsteps echoed in the cavern entrance, Terravantage mercenaries. Spotlights jittered across stalactites, converging on the pyramid. Elena grabbed the mirror's frame. Daniel hissed, "We can't fight armed men." "We don't have to," she whispered. "We fight with truth." She remembered a story her father told. Quetzalcoatl sacrificed precious jade to create humanity. Real power lay not in taking, but in giving. Daniel helped lower the mirror into the water with utmost care. They submerged it between them, its feathers catching ripples of light. As the mercenaries scrambled up the pyramid, Elena and Daniel disappeared under the surface, towing the artifact through an open basalt gate into a side tunnel narrow enough to scrape shoulders. Bullets fizzed into the water above them, but the rock corridor bent, swallowed noise, and delivered them into another pool beneath an open sky. A hidden cenote ringed by orchids and spider monkeys. Elena surfaced first, coughing, still cradling the mirror's rim. Daniel emerged laughing. "That was the craziest thing I've ever done." She pushed soaked hair from her face. "Not done yet." They hiked nonstop toward the nearest archaeological outpost, following animal tracks instead of GPS in case Terravantage traced signals. Over 2 days, they shared style protein bars and sweeter conversations. Daniel revealed he'd once proposed to a woman in Paris, but called it off, terrified he'd tarnish her life with his chaotic quests. Elena told how her father used to hum lullabies in Nahuatl, promising knowledge was the only real treasure. They laughed about misadventures. Elena mislabeling pottery shards at 16. Daniel bribing a guard with chocolate. One night, while bats swooped across the moon, Daniel touched her cheek. "When this is over," he murmured, "I don't want to be your rival anymore." She kissed him softly, tasting river salt and possibility. Then don't be. At dawn, they reach Camp Quetzal, a cluster of canvas labs overseen by Dr. Ibarra, an archaeologist who respected Elena's father. When Elena unveiled the mirror, Ibarra gasped. "We feared it myth. How did you—" Elena shook her head. "Long story. Secure it, catalog it, and make it public. My father believed artifacts belonged to memory, not vaults." While researchers wrapped the mirror in breathable cotton, Daniel drafted a statement to Global Press exposing Terra Vantage's armed operation. He attached drone footage of the mercenaries and geological data proving imminent environmental damage. Within hours, satellites beamed headlines. Corporation hunted sacred artifact. Archaeologists save relic ecosystem. Government officials, pressured by media, suspended Terra Vantage's permits. Elena stood outside the comms tent, watching clouds gather. Relief coursed through her, followed by surprising emptiness. "It's over," she whispered. Daniel stepped beside her. "Not everything." He took her hand, interlacing fingers. "There's us." She studied their joined hands, scarred, dirty, honest. "Us," she repeated, savoring the syllable, yet doubts touched her voice. "Will we still chase different maps?" He looked into her eyes, gray like mist over ruins. "We'll chase them together, or we'll build new ones." She smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder. A week later, under the high vaulted atrium of the National Museum in Mexico City, the Mirror of Quetzalcoatl debuted before scholars, journalists, and descendants of the Mexica. Elena wore her father's compass like a medal. Daniel stood at her side, wrist bandaged, suit poorly ironed. Dr. Ibarra addressed the crowd. "This artifact reminds us that reflection reveals responsibility." Cameras flashed, but Elena's attention fixed on the mirror. For a heartbeat, she saw her father again, nodding proudly. Then the image melted into her own face, older, braver, and Daniel's at her side. She squeezed his fingers. He whispered, "Worth more than gold," she answered, "infinitely." After the reception, they slipped onto the museum roof to escape noise. City lights stretched to the horizon. Sirens mingled with mariachi music. Daniel produced 2 small clay cups of mezcal pilfered from catering. They clinked. Elena asked, "Where next, Cross?" He sipped thoughtfully. "I hear there's a sunken Olmec city off the Veracruz coast. Also rumors of a lighthouse in Chile with a Mapuche crystal lens." She laughed. "Both sound cold compared to La Condon." "I'll pack blankets," he offered. She considered the skyline, her compass ticking at her chest, the mirror safely displayed below. Everywhere stories whispered from earth and stone. But for the first time, she felt no frantic urgency, only the thrill of exploring with someone whose heartbeat matched her own. "I say, we chase the sea," she declared. Daniel grinned, wrapping an arm around her waist. Then to the sea. They stood there until distant thunder rolled, until the museum's lights dimmed, until they could see stars between skyscrapers. When they finally descended the stairwell, the guard on duty winked, recognizing camaraderie forged in danger and redemption. They exited onto a cobblestone street, not running this time, simply walking side by side. Behind them, high in the gallery, the mirror caught moonlight through a skylight window, reflecting twin silhouettes leaning together before the image dissolved into darkness, waiting patiently for the next seeker to discover that the greatest treasure is not possession, but the love and courage mirrored within the human heart.